Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, we're going to react to prison food revealed. Now, this is going to be really interesting. I've always wondered, what is it like to be in prison? Especially US prison, which I think is probably worse than prisons here in the UK from what I've seen, read, heard. What kind of food do they eat? Because obviously you're not going to be feeding them well, I guess, because prison is a punishment essentially, but also, you can't be inhumane. You still have to kind of give them, I guess, the bare essentials, but what does that look like? I'm sure they're not eating steak and lobster, but, are we talking bologna? Are we talking, I don't know, do they get any actual meat? How does it work? So yeah, this is going to be really, really interesting.
Prison food. This is Brandon at federalprisoninsider.com. Today we're going to talk about prison food. I've got a story about some prison food that is so scandalous I wouldn't even feed it to my dog.
Damn. Let's go.
I got 60 months in prison for flying marijuana around the country as a commercial pilot. During my time in prison, I learned ways to stay safe, and I cut my time in half. That's exactly what I teach on this channel, so subscribe now for updates. There's a national menu for prison food, a standard for what's supposed to be served Monday through Friday, so the easiest way to do this is just take you through 7 days of the week, what food's good, what is just scandalous, and what the inmates do to prepare. Let's knock breakfast out of the way because that's a pretty standard meal. It stays the same 7 days a week. It's generally watery, plain grits. Sometimes it's eggs that they pour out of a can and scramble, and then there's cereal on the side and coffee. I generally skipped breakfast because there was little to no nutritional value in it, and I chose to intermittent fast instead.
Really, but the eggs, there's protein in eggs, but I guess because it's coming out of a can, it's not going to be fresh.
Daily is at 7, lunch is at 11 a.m., and dinner's about 5. Now let's start on Monday. Monday for lunch is beef tacos, and beef tacos you can consider the hard shell at Taco Bell with that beef in there. That's similar. The one big difference I see there is the cheese is fake cheese. You're not getting real dairy. You're getting some sort of synthetic mixture of cheese. It's kind of weird. These tacos are okay. Generally people will eat them for the lunch meal. Monday for dinner is vegetable soup. It's generally some sort of canned vegetables.
Ugh. What is that? Kind of looks like cement.
Picture that flavor and texture, and people are pounding this just because it has the semblance of some sort of nutritional value. Doesn't taste that good, but it's worth eating. Dinner on Mondays. I want to make sure you get as much time off as possible.
Yeah, and I guess, any kind of vegetables, it's going to have some kind of vitamins and minerals in there.
Well, if you check the show notes, I hooked you up with a free 13-point checklist of all the different ways that you can get time off before and after prison. So check out that free checklist I put in the show notes for you. Tuesday for lunch is a chicken patty sandwich. Now this comes on a bun. Generally what people end up doing here is getting rid of the bun, just eating that chicken patty, but it's not a big enough meal to really get people by. So what people are doing is going back to their locker and supplementing with maybe a peanut butter sandwich. Tuesday for dinner is meatloaf and mashed potatoes. The meatloaf is decent. You don't know what's in it, but it tastes good. People are putting sriracha on there, hiding some of the flavor, and this is a meal that gets eaten also.
What kind of meat do you think goes into prison meatloaf? Are we talking entrails, like ear and stuff? Because it's probably not going to be prime cuts, isn't it?
Wednesday's lunch, hamburger and fries. People love hamburger day. That's what it's all about. Waiting for Wednesday to come around for that hamburger. It's not good. It's about the quality of a fast food burger, probably that's a little bit older than more stale than most fast food burgers, a single cheeseburger. And then those fries are pretty decent because they're just being frozen and then fried. And so those are pretty tasty fries. So that's what people get excited about. Wednesday night is pasta. So depending on how good the chef in the kitchen is, that inmate has a lot of control over how good that pasta is.
Portions are really small. So I'm guessing, a lot of these guys are going to be relying on, because I think a commissary, you can buy food from the store. They're going to be relying on that because this looks like a tiny portion of pasta, unless that tray is massive.
Can be anything from just noodles with marinara poured over it to some sort of nicely flavored pasta. So that kind of depends on the kitchen chef whether this meal gets eaten or not. Most of the time I was skipping. Thursday was baked chicken and baked sweet potatoes. This was my favorite day because it felt like
Whoa,
a
this
day that
ain't
I was
bad.
actually getting a lunch that had some nutrients
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
in it. So that baked chicken is pretty tasty. They're doing good there. That baked sweet potato was healthy and tasty as well. So this was a meal that I never missed. Thursday night for dinner, black bean soup. This is on par with that vegetable soup, pretty flavorless. People kind of eating it because it does have some healthy benefits, but they're trying to supplement some food from their locker generally that evening when they get back to their commissary items. Friday lunch, baked breaded fish. Now, this one I used to eat when I first got down. I was down for about 6 months. I was eating this. It's pretty tasty. You can cover up the flavor with massive amounts of tartar sauce and sriracha, which is a common plan, is take your sriracha with you to the chow hall, because if something doesn't taste so tasty, you get that sriracha on there and you kind of just taste the sriracha. Now, this fish I was eating for a long time, and there was rumors going around about it being old, and I thought, you know what, I gotta see for myself. So I hooked up with one of my boys who worked in the kitchen, who had access to storage, and he took me in there and he showed me these boxes. And this fish, this frozen fish we were eating, was from 2006. Now we're talking about 2012, 6 years old, past its expiration date, frozen fish. So I went ahead.
6 years. Wow. Fuck. I mean, that can't be legal, can it? I know that frozen food lasts way, way longer, but 6 years for fish as well? I don't know about that.
And stopped eating that. And once I saw how old and nasty this fish was, I went and tasted it a couple times just to see, and you could definitely taste this is something is not good about this fish. It's nasty. I did a little bit of research online, and frozen fish that's expired isn't going to make you sick. It's just going to taste gross. So I guess that was kind of the thing that the government decided. And I'm not sure where the fish came from. A lot of people guessed that it was left over from a military base, and they just brought the frozen fish over and feed it to the inmates. A lot of time you are eating expired food that's been donated from some other government organization that's not going to use it. And so you do, a lot of this food I'm talking about is old and left over. I know you're probably wondering about this fish thing, but I'm going to tell you.
I guess, prison ultimately it's a punishment, isn't it? So I guess if you don't want to be there and you don't want to eat this food, then don't commit the crimes. But at the same time, giving them fish that's like years past its sell-by date, that shouldn't be legal, really, should it?
I saw it with my own eyes. I went in and
Because what if they get sick?
verified, made sure, was like, maybe this could be some confusion. Is this fish really this old? I saw it. It was the truth. I also saw other scandalous stuff. Like when I went down to Lompoc, I used to work at the horticulture department. I had a whole greenhouse ripping, me and the Tomato King, and we were pumping out enough lettuce to feed the entire prison system.
Wow.
We worked hard. We packaged up all that greenery and all that organic vegetables, and we took it up to the kitchen and tried to get the officers to put it onto the lunch line. No way. They just threw that stuff away every time. We tried to get it up there. A couple times we snuck it onto the line and gave people good vegetables, but they were throwing away thousands of pounds worth of fresh organic produce.
What? To me, that's just dumb. So these guys took the initiative to produce actual vegetables. They're developing skills as well that could potentially get them a job if they get released, and you just destroy the food. What do they think?
We tried to give to the prison system, because if it's not being served everywhere, they didn't want to take the chance of serving it. Kind of makes sense, but I'm just giving you an idea of what this looks like.
Get that.
So we may have done a little bit of hustling on the side and got people their vegetables, who knows, but that's a different story. So on days like this fish day, which was basically every Friday, I didn't touch that stuff, or on days where something just comes out a little sideways, which happens 2 or 3 days a week, what I would do is I'd head back to my locker, I'd eat some mackerel, I'd eat some tuna, I'd make a little rice bowl, something that was a little bit nutritious that would get me by. Friday night dinner, chicken fried rice. Hold that term chicken fried rice loosely. It could be just basically white rice with some carrots and peas in it. Who knows? But you're getting some rice. You're going to have to figure out your own plan for dinner usually this evening. On weekends, they do breakfast for lunch, which is because people aren't waking up at 6.
I wonder, the commissary, what's available and how much is the stuff? Is it the same price that you would pay on the outside? If you wanted to buy, I'm guessing it's going to be a lot of canned stuff, like canned tuna. Is it going to be the same price as in Walmart, or do they jack up the price to make money off the prisoners?
Morning to go to work, and so a lot of people miss that 7 a.m. call, so they're doing a little bit relaxed breakfast for lunch. Saturday for lunch is scrambled eggs and turkey bacon. This is a passable meal. A lot of people eat it. And then Saturday for dinner is that vegetable soup again. So most people are looking for ways to eat something out of commissary instead of eating that vegetable soup on Saturday. Also, there's time for people to sit down and spend some time cooking a good meal. Sunday lunch is scrambled eggs and potatoes. People eat this meal. Sunday for dinner is roast beef. They eat this meal as well, but it's only about a slice of roast beef, a couple slices maybe that big, so it's not going to get you by. You're going to have to supplement for food out of commissary for Sunday dinner also. Now, outside of the chow hall, inmates are making their own food all the time, and sometimes they make some really impressive stuff. I can tell you that one of my favorite meals by far was some of my Indian friends used to get together and cook this fantastic fish curry. They would get curry out of the kitchen on the side. They had all kinds of ingredients, and then they would add mackerel or tuna to it from the commissary, and this meal, and over rice, this meal was...
But how were they heating it? Like, how did they cook it? Like, because they didn't have microwaves in their cells, right? How would they prepare it? Where did they get the heat from? And the pans and stuff.
One of the best things I ate in prison. I still think back about how good it was to this day. And to give you a more low-key example, something that I would personally do if I was eating out of my locker, it's called, instead of out of the chow hall when I skip these meals, I would be going to my bunk and making a tuna sandwich, maybe a peanut butter sandwich, making maybe a bowl of rice with some vegetables and some tuna in it. I was getting vegetables on the side through a meal plan that people were getting it from the kitchen on the side and then dropping it off to my bed, so I'd have sometimes carrots, bananas, whatever vegetables happened to come through that there was extra of. I was paying someone on a plan to hook some of those up. So I was trying to eat as healthy as possible. It's tough to eat healthy in prison. There's just not that many nutrients floating around. A lot of people look at this list and go, man, that food sounds good. Well, it's not. I can tell you by outside standards, it's not. It's probably lower than the quality of fast food because of the age of most of it. Sometimes it tastes good. The real problem with prison is the nutrients. You're just not getting a balanced diet, no way, which way you spin it.
And obviously, because you've got all these guys, you know, in such close proximity, all of the germs flying around, yeah, I bet people get sick all the time in prison.
You are on a really good meal plan through the kitchen and you're crushing vegetables, which is tough to do, but some people figure out ways. If you or a family member is going to...
Very interesting. Truly fascinating. Like, genuinely so. Obviously, I and you know, have no plans on ever going to prison, but I find it interesting learning about, you know, what goes on inside prison walls. How do they eat? What do they do on a day-to-day basis? You know, what are the like dynamics, you know, between different people? Like, what's it like going in the first day? And no surprise, the food doesn't look great. You know, you wouldn't expect it to look good, but it surprised me, you know, the fact that they're served fish that's 6 years past its sell-by date. Because at some point, is there no duty of care from the government to ensure that at least, you know, the prisoners are treated in a humane fashion? But I guess based on some of the stories you hear out of places like Rikers Island and San Quentin, I guess, you know, maybe there is no real duty of care. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.